Welcome, dear friends. Here we are for another study of the Spiritist magazine. I am Shane Martin. I'm broadcasting from the Spirit Society of Richmond, Richmond, Virginia, here in collaboration with Kardec Radio, the Spiritist magazine, and all the mentors that support us and make this work possible. What a blessing to be here talking about one article from one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine. The Spiritist magazine is a blessed resource available to you and I, your friends in the whole world, at spiritistmagazine.org. That's the website you go to, you download the PDF, just as I'm going to show you in a minute. But you also can um, start a contact with the editor in chief in the case that you have a talent, you'd like to be a contributor to the magazine. You can see the link to the Facebook page of the magazine, maybe watching me through that link. And you can order a physical copy of the magazine. You can download the app. There's no more excuse for us. And remember, we need to consume these teachings while we are alive, while they're available. Very easy on Kindle, on PDF, on the books app, on your phones, on your tablets, because who knows, when we discarnate, we may or may not have access to these teachings. Because in the spiritual realm, you would have to acquire merit and, let's say, a version of the bonus hours we see on La Solar in order to be able to access libraries. The libraries aren't free. We have the works, we have the teachings, we have to use it before we discarnate. But until then, today, it's all about this Spiritist group. Dear friends, you might be here because you have a Spiritist group, or maybe in your city you don't have a Spiritist group. There aren't many places in the world where Spiritist centers are located. If you are from Brazil, there are many, many Spiritist centers. You throw a stone, you find a Spiritist center. Here in the US, it's not as common. For example, here in Virginia, we have two Spiritist centers. The one in Chantilly, Spirit Society of Virginia, and here one in Richmond, the Spirit Society of Richmond. So those who are in the region only have two options, and they have to drive sometimes 2 hours to be with us. So these teachings are much, much valuable. But if you don't have a Spiritist group, you ask me, why would I want to know about the Spiritist group? Because perhaps God is calling on you to start in your own home a Spiritist group. And how do we do that? Start with the gospel at home. You start with the gospel at home that harmonizes the environment in your home. And you invite the people to come to your house. And you can say, hey, let's study the gospel according to Spiritism together on Wednesdays nights at work or Saturday afternoons. Yes, friends, we have to give up some of our leisure time to do the works of the good in the world. Jesus is just waiting for us. So maybe you will be one day leading a Spiritist group. Remember, Christ came and selected 12 apostles, just like you and I, flawed as they were. They persevered, they took in the message, and they carry out the message so that you and I today could have the Christian message for us to learn. And none of them waited to be perfect to start anything. So we can start a Spiritist group anywhere we are in the world. There's no hierarchy. You can go to the Spiritist Federation website. You can find the bylaws and instructions to speak Portuguese. The Brazilian Federation has many different places, many resources for leadership, for development of a group, how things are organized that can help you in your situation. The time is today to start your journey with the superior spirits. And it does take one person to lead, be courageous, and then others will follow, because the suffering in the world is tremendous. The suffering we are observing, experiencing, the fact that we can share much more readily what's happening around the world, It's glaring to know how many are suffering. And if we only know of these consoling messages, then perhaps the suffering could be attenuated a little bit. We can damper it down. Not that we're going to remove. No spiritist should come to you and say they're going to remove all troubles. It's actually about building within ourselves resilience, the knowledge of the immortality of the soul, the knowledge of the law of action and reaction, the knowledge that the laws of love. We are here to learn to love one another, knowing that we can be reunited with our loved ones, that there are mentors that are with us. That gives us strength, consolation, allows us to serve others, knowing that we're all one big human family in this planet. Nowhere else in the world you can have this combination. And by being a part of a Spiritist group, you'll be able to come in person to meetings, just like the ones we have, or many Spiritist groups have, where there is a message, prayer over harmonization, there's a Spiritist talk, a time where we share the knowledge, then there are passes, there may be music in some instances, and then we have a final prayer. We have fraternal assistance. We can give people the water. They can feel welcomed. The superior spirits are here. The physicians are here. The nurses and the therapists of the beyond are here helping you and I, and we're protected. There's nothing like sharing, having the eye-to-eye conversation when we're in the same place. Of course, I'm saying all of this while using the internet to get to you, but we need to use the resources because evil is using the internet to spread its wings. So it's up to you and I, workers of the last hour, to use the resources such as the internet to spread the good news and know what to do when we come together. There's nothing like being in communication with another one. Not a coincidence that today I was reading a newsletter. I work in healthcare. I'm a healthcare outcomes researcher. I work in healthcare. And I was reading about the declaration by the Surgeon General. Vivek is his last name. He was declaring loneliness as a health epidemic. Being lonely can negatively impact your health, the health of your loved ones. So when we come to the Spiritist Center, now we have the opportunity of being helped and being of service. We cannot go to the Spiritist Center just waiting to be served. We have to put your toes in the water and say, I'm here also to help. So let's see what Emmanuel has to say in this teaching. So the title is in the Spiritist group, and the spirit is Emmanuel. What you're seeing on the screen right now, if you're watching me, if you're not just listening to me, I'll describe to you. This is the PDF version of the magazine. That is the latest issue, 15 years of publication. This also happens to be the cover article for the cover of the magazine. And you have many different resources from the book Spiritist Conduct, a letter from the editor-in-chief, studies on physics and spiritism, a translated book that's not yet in English about family dynamics, issues of Kardec's time with the Spiritist magazine of Kardec Time. We have, again, this is another book that's not translated. We have parts of the book Good News by Umberto de Campos that is translated. Hopefully, God willing, will be published one day for you and I to purchase in English. Articles by Euripides Barçanovo. Last week, we talked about spirit fraternity. If you're talking about listening to these teachings in sequence, but it doesn't matter. I try to make it as timely, as generic, but also talking about what's happening around us, because we need to talk what's about around us. We talked also about health and balance before. There's a poem here, another small message by the Spirit Joseph, and then we get to these teachings by what you're seeing on the left side are the thumbnails that I can search through the articles I want. So I'm going to hide my sidebar. And then here's the spirit. So this article has a quote from the Bible, which is Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20. For where two or three gather together in my name, there I am in their midst, Jesus. So when you gather together in your home to do the gospel at home, Jesus will be there with you. When you're in the Spiritist Center, gather in the name of Jesus to do the good, to serve others, to serve the spirits, Jesus is there with you. So let's see what Emmanuel says, because it really doesn't matter what I think, because all the hosts are just bullhorns. We just talk. We just pass through us, and we read to you and we discuss. But it's about what the superior spirits wants to say, because their words are precise. Emmanuel says, having come to understand that each worker in the Christian Spiritist harvest undertakes a specific task, it's necessary to ask ourselves from time to time, where are we in the group of work to which we belong? Very important teachings here. So he's saying, each worker, that's you and I, undertakes a specific task. So there will be someone who is managing in the spiritual realm the direct coordination of the group. Sometimes we call ourselves president of the group because we preside over the group. So president comes from. Then we have, others call themselves coordinators. In any spiritual society, there are rules, there's order, there's harmony, but there's also order. I just described to you in the beginning our order of events here, which are very similar to many spiritist groups everywhere. But you and your spiritist group, even if you just go to attend a talk, if you're not specifically a worker, have been through training, we should be workers. We should go through training. We should give up our leisure time, our time to do the works of the good. You have a specific task. But from time to time, for the workers, the spiritist workers, because a lot of them unfortunately haven't returned after COVID, we are choosing the pleasures of the flesh over the abilities of the spirit, but it's a conversation for another time. He's saying it's necessary to ask from time to time, that today's asking, what are we in the group of work to which we belong? Because if you are in a place where a spiritist group is small, like I am here, we're a small group. There are spiritist centers with hundreds and thousands of people. See Divaldo Franco's work. But he also started in a small group. Why am I in that group? What am I doing there? Why is God putting me, putting you, putting us in a specific location on the globe? And I get there and I'm like, oh, I don't have a spiritist center. Because maybe we're used to having one in each corner. But now you are the one called to do the work. And if you don't do the work, we can, if we don't, I don't say we because I don't want to accuse them. If we, including myself, don't do the work, we know of these, but we don't participate in spreading of the spiritism, we do not have any right whatsoever to criticize those who are doing the work or to hinder, to stop them from progressing. Of course, we learn the Spirit's book, part 3. There is no neutral. There's good, there's evil. It's the first part of the third part of the first chapter of the third part of the Spirit's book. So, if I am not helping the works of the Christ, I am incurring in evil. That's not my words. Go to the Spirit's book and read that part. But the least I can do is not to interfere, to create gossip, to badmouth people, to not share. So just don't do anything. It's already not doing the good, but at least it's not hindering. Well, what are we in this work? Because we are asking ourselves the same question. Are we a key to solving obstacles, or we are exacerbating our obstacles? So am I key when I come in, I see a problem, I'm like, well, respecting which task you are, right? We're not going to trample over the directors of the center because being one myself, I know people don't know how hard it is, the day to day. It's joyful, but it's hard. But when I go there to the Spiritist Center or visit one, am I being an obstacle to point out everything that is wrong but unable? I'm exacerbating the problem? Or am I being the key to solving the problem, to solving the obstacles? Am I a constant companion who attends the lessons? Or an assistant who, out of boredom, appears occasionally? We see a lot of these. People who know of Spiritism and just appear whenever they want. And when they come, they want to be served. We all know. What may have been us in the past. But with a planetary transition, the invitation to do the good, we cannot allow ourselves to keep swimming with the tide. We have to break from the school of fish. You see, school of fish is a group of fish swimming in the ocean. They go together with the current, sometimes against, but most of the time with, right? They form a big body of fish. You don't see a fish going all the way, but we need to be the fish that goes all the way, because the majority of the fish on the earth, figuratively, us, the 8 billion incarnates, the majority of us still going through the motions of the physical senses. We want to enjoy. I'll go to Spirit Sense when I'm not going to the park. I'll buy a season ticket to the water park, to the theme park, and go every Sunday, Saturday, because I bought the ticket I need to use. And I appear at the Spirit Center every now and then, and I complain that there's no workers to teach my children while I'm there. How many stories we know of Spirit centers, spiritists like this? Or I go and it's not my way, it's not the way I've known when I was young, and then I don't show up again but I'm not willing to open another one and see how hard it is. So hopefully we are the constant companion who is there, whose director can call you and be like, hey, we're doing this fundraising, we are doing a lunch, bring things. Because guess what? The work of Spiritism is free. But let me tell you, breaking news, if you didn't know, I'm sorry to spoil alert, there are costs associated with the Spiritist Center. We have to pay the lights, the internet, the insurance. We have to buy chairs, computers. We have to buy materials. And we have to contribute. We have to put our money where our mouth is. If we value Spiritism, we need to be there helping always. Helping, because Jesus, what Jesus did, he helped always. So are we a friend who understands and helps, or a critic who complicates and disapproves? When I see something not going right, do I kindly go and talk to the director, the coordinator, and say, well, that day you said this, are you okay? Can I help you anyway? Instead of saying, see, she or he always do that. Are we the critic or are we the friend? Are we bombs that restores or corrosive that poisons? Am I there to make things flow, to smooth over the edges, just like the water over time, right? Water builds a canyon slowly, one day at a time. The water goes through, and all of a sudden the rock is shaped, and it's soft and smooth. Or are we poisoning, corrosive? You know something that all humans do that is very corrosive? Gossip. Bad humans, in the book Calmness, bad humor. When you're in a bad mood is corrosive to the delicate tissues of your spiritual body. And how many of us pride in being negative and complaining? So we want to be a balm when you are hurt, and you put the balm in the wound and it soothes. So people want to be around us. So we are seeing the best in everyone. Are we the nurse dedicated to the good of the community? Are we helping the community? Or a patient? It could be a physician. In the past, physicians were more dedicated to the good of the community. Or a patient that must be tolerated and treated by others. So are we there to help? Or are we there to just be helped? How many years have we gone to the Spiritist Center and we just want to receive passes? I only feel good when I receive passes. Passes, study. Now it's time to put that into use. Go volunteer where your Spiritist Center volunteers. Participate in the mediumistic meetings and the studies, because all of those interactions and activities allow us to help to dedicate ourselves to the good of everyone in that circle. Are we a spring of help or a desolate heath with no benefit to anyone? Because imagine you walking through the desert and you see a spring, a fountain of water, right? A well, and it nourishes and helps you quench your thirst. Are we just going around being, oh, but that's who I am. This is who I want to be because we want to be free. I do whatever I want. I'm not going there because they tell me I can't or cannot do this. Then we're being rebellious, right? Because even Christ respected the customs of his time, respected the people who were in power at the time. So when we go to a place, we want to be helpful. We don't want to be interfering with the activities. Are we support in the work of the good works, or crack for the influence of evil? So let's say I come to you and as an example, and I say, well, we're going to volunteer. The mentors asked us to volunteer. All the works we do in the physical realm have a start on the spiritual realm. We go back to sleep every night, and we may be graced, blessed by God with the opportunity of going meet with our spirit man to take classes, study the books that we don't have time to read while awake. If we're less attentive to our daily activities, we may be enjoying the same things that we enjoy during the day with those who are idle as well. But let's say we receive an inspiration and say, well, we need to volunteer. We find this place to volunteer. And these are the days they can have us as activities there I need. And I say, oh no, I'm not going there. Only if I can sing. I will only go there if I can do art. I will only then we're being the crack for the influence of the evil, because we're breaking the harmony that the Spiritist Center needs to survive. That's in the chapters 29 and 30 of the Medium's book, The Cohesive Harmony Between the Group Members, that Kardec brought in the Medium's book back then. So do I always see something to contradict? Do I want to do things my way? I'm only teaching the youth if I do it this way. And the mentors come, say, call this person, ask for help, and they give you a curriculum. They suggest an activity. Oh no, I'm only doing it my way. We know plenty of people. We don't want to be those, because we're hindering the progress on the earth in general. Am I a fruitful plant? Am I there giving out good fruits, or destructive parasites? I only go to Spiritist Center to get passes because I feel better. But then 2 minutes pass, I'm out the door because I have to enjoy my weekend. In this case, we meet here on the weekend. So my examples seem to be around the times we meet. Not that anybody here is doing that, but I'm just saying from experience, from being in different centers, we are just surfers. We go in, feel the wave, enjoy the wave, come out. Because we have better things, because we put value in other things. We put values on careers, like the director of the centers don't have their careers in their lives. We say we're too busy. We say there's so much going on. But when push comes to shove, when the difficulties come, it's not if they come, it's when they come. This is a world of trials and expiations. So we know the difficulties will come. If they haven't arrived yet, if you have never experienced difficulties, I would like to speak with you, because I don't know anybody who hasn't. And I'd like to know what it is to live a life without difficulties. But when difficulties come to us, to our loved ones, being a season pass holder at the theme park ain't gonna help you. You may have had fun, because it's fun, right? Especially when it gets really hot. I'm not saying you shouldn't go. I'm just saying that knowing of Christ, learning the 13 virtues of Ben Franklin on a kids program, studying the book No Solar with youth. I know Spiritist Center does that. Knowing that God is love and is there as a seed inside of you, that you matter, will help you much more when the crisis of suicide comes in your circle of influence. I'm not wishing that to anybody, but we know so much suffering. And we know people going through the difficulties and they don't have the teachings that you and I have. So when we go to the Spiritist centers, we have to serve the community where we are. That includes the controversial ever speak the language of the country you live. Because if you are in a country like I am, I'm an American citizen, I live in the US. The majority of spirits around me, guess what? Speak English. Our activities are in English. So I'll speak for myself. I don't speak French, so I can't teach them or read from the originals. Kardec was French. So the original books are in French. If you can read French, please go and read it. Read it, enjoy the true, because there's no translation that is absolutely perfect. There are better ones and less better ones. But the spirits around me, in my workplace, when I pray in English. I read the message in English. Because I have the privilege of having this space to do. I'm in the US, I can worship whatever I want. So if you are in Ukraine, you do the works in Ukrainian. If you're in Africa, you use the language of the time. Because if you go to a country, the minimum we can do is learn the language of that country. Where is that? That's not me saying. This is in the book Among Brothers of Other Lands. It's also in the book Spiritist Conduct Towards the Homeland. We need to learn the customs and the language of the people to the places that God's going to allow us to go because we want to be respectful. So when we use the language of the country, we're reaching more people. We are aiding in the spread of the good news, not hindering. Because when we do things only in French, Portuguese, very few people can enjoy. It can be that at the beginning of your group is because everybody knows Portuguese or Spanish, because a lot of Hispanic, excuse me, there's a lot of materials in Spanish. But then it has to broaden. We have to be the fruit. We give fruit. Plants give fruit. The new generation that's born in that country, they're more likely to speak the language of the country than their parents. Not that they don't know, but it's their identity. Their spirit's born in their language. So when we teach the children the content in English and Spanish or whatever language of the country you are at, because I don't know all the 100 and plus languages, are probably way more than that. We are allowing the new generation to have the tools. Because when the difficulty comes, they will know God loves me. Jesus is there. I can count on the superior spirits. I have guardian angels. That goes way beyond one more playground, one more activity, one more activity, one more activity. So are we a spring of peace or vehicle discordant? I know that I'm being discordant here. I'm being controversial. Because we want to do what we want to do. But these are not my words. These are questions that Emmanuel is bringing to you and I. Because when I'm reading, I'm the first one to listen to me. When you speak, your ear is the closest to your mouth. So you're the first one to hear your own words. So if he chose these words for this teaching, for this topic, it's because they're relevant. Are we a blessing or a problem in the Spiritist Center? And he says, let us make such an evaluation, and we will verily, without difficulty, we will verify without difficulty if we are simply the Spiritist doctrine or if the Spiritist doctrine is already clearly within us. So is the teachings of the spirits inside of you? Are we living the teachings of the spirits each day of our lives so that we can be the most fulfilled our potentialities and the good can flourish, that we can be of service to everyone and everything around us. Isn't that beautiful? It's a great reflection. This is from the book Follow Me by Emmanuel through Xavier. So go to these teachings, go study, go read, download the app, have it while you're waiting at the counter for the grocery line or the Starbucks line. Please don't drive and operate machinery reading, because that's dangerous. But other than that, we have a lot of time to read and to study before we discarnate, so we can use those teachings to our advantage. Dear friends, it's always an honor and a blessing to be with you. Please visit spiritistmagazine.org. And between now and next week, God willing, I'll be back with you. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.